I really like studying up here because you get really good teaching. So it's the doctors are only used to seeing less students per year, and they're really friendly and they're happy to have you and happy to teach. Living up here is cheap, so in terms of like stress while you're studying, it's a lot less. And just a lot of little things are easier. I mean, you can go to the beach whenever you want. Parking is free everywhere. Yeah, I'm really happy up here. I really like it. In year 4 we had a society and health term, and in that term we got to do a lot of placements, and as part of those placements you see a lot of the people that live in a rural demographic. Last year in year 4, us here in Coffs Harbour, we were all placed on teams for most of the year. So what that means is that we've all been doing ward rounds with teams and getting quite one-on-one teaching with registrars and consultants already for a year, which my understanding is most people in Sydney don't have such an opportunity and probably visit the hospital far less often. So in terms of clinical time, I think we have we're able to sort of tap into that a lot more easily here. Yeah, there's a lot of things I like doing around here. We've got a couple of towns close by that are really beautiful and cute and have a lot of good cafes and shops. There's Bellingen up the road, and further on from that there's Dorrigo. And then if you head north, there's really beautiful beaches that are kind of surrounded by National Park. I live in Sawtell, so Sawtell's just south of Coffs, and our clinical school is in between Coffs and Sawtell. And it's quite sweet. It's a sweet little beach town, and it's got a number of restaurants and cafes and beautiful beaches. I really love living here. I'm happy with my decision.
So I'd say that probably some of the advantages of studying in Coffs Harbour, especially in comparison with studying in some of the Sydney hospitals, is the clinical experience that you get and the time that you spend in the hospital. So I've just started 5th year, so I can't compare so much, but when I talked to some of my friends in Sydney about their 4th year experiences, it was definitely evident that we spent a lot more time in the hospital and were able to practice some of the clinical skills a lot earlier. Another of the advantages is that if you come here in 4th year and you're here for 3 years, you can build a relationship with the doctors, which I guess just further enhances the teaching experience. It's a smaller hospital, there aren't as many doctors, you get to know them quite well, which is great. Another thing that's really great about the Coffs Harbour campus is the facilities that are available on campus. So we've got quite a well kitted out clinical school here, from kitchen and accommodation facilities down to some pretty good simulation labs and things like that, and which again is really great for our clinical experience. And there's fewer students, so you're able to make the most of these facilities. I suppose I do see myself working in a regional area or somewhere like this at some stage, just because I really like the lifestyle that goes with living in a place like this. So I think that when you spend more time in a rural area, you certainly gain a better appreciation for how the healthcare system works and how it differs from working in the city. In particular, I guess you learn or you come into contact with things like referring patients for specialist care. So I think some of the great things about living in Coffs Harbour are the amazing opportunities you have to really enjoy the outdoors. We've got great weather, and certainly have been making the most of that, picking up new skills, learning to surf very poorly so far, but getting there. spending lots of time at the beach and outdoors.
For me, the best thing is being able to wake up late, 15-minute drive to uni or to hospital, always parking. There's always patients willing and happy to see you. It's just, it's a lot more pleasant to be here than to have the daily grind in Sydney. I come from the country, but I went to boarding school in Sydney, lived in Sydney, my friends are in Sydney, and I sort of always wanted to live and work in Sydney. But it was actually a pleasant surprise once I got here, and now I am starting to consider the fact that I might actually do my internship at Coffs Harbour and maybe my residency. I think the main factor here that we possibly get an advantage above the Sydney people is Indigenous health. We get to go to a Indigenous healthcare centre called Gallumbilla, and we just get so much more exposure. I mean, we get the same lectures as the Sydney people, but the Indigenous community is a lot bigger here, and I think that's really because it's such a big health in Australian medical learning. I think it's really important and good. And just a general sort of community spirit. I can walk down the street. I work at a local pub, and I can walk down the street and find people that I know every single day, which is nice.
I actually applied to UNSW to do medicine because it offered 4 years of my degree in Coffs Harbour. I lived here before I started the degree, so I used to drive past the hospital every day and see the Rural Clinical School sign. So it was pretty much a no-brainer for me. I have family here, and being able to study here for such a long time, it means like I could be in a stable environment, be able to devote more time to my studies without the stresses of being away from the family. I grew up in Brewarrina, northwestern New South Wales. It's about an hour's drive from Bourke. I spent the first 25 years of my life there, so I have had a good understanding of rural healthcare issues and access to health. So coming here to study, it's reinforced what I've already known, but it's given me an appreciation for the skill set that rural doctors have. Rural generalists generally need to have a broader skill set to be able to manage surgical issues, anaesthetic issues, obstetrics and gynecological problems as well. So while we have some good medical specialists in the area, Coffs Harbour also runs the Rural Generalist program as well, so it's given me a good understanding of what skills are required to be a rural doctor. I think this is a great place to be able to learn those skills. UNSW has the largest number of Indigenous medical students in Australia, so if there's any Indigenous kids who are looking to study medicine, it's a great place because you'll be given a lot of support, not only from the academic staff and Nuragili, Indigenous centre at the school, but also amongst your cohort. There'll be other students that you can lean on, get advice from, form study groups, and even here in Coffs, where we have a smaller number of students, there's 16 in our year, but there's a couple of Indigenous students in my year as well. So it's good for learning and giving each other support when you need it as well.